necessarily is costing us money and harming the environment. Well, joining us now with more on this is Dr. Tara Shirvani, an academic and expert on sustainability, innovation and green infrastructure. Welcome to BBC News. Good to have you with us. I would like to start, if I may, with this figure from British Gas that we would save £147 by switching off all our devices. Does that figure sound about right to you?
I mean, the ranges of estimates are all varying between a high and low scenario, but I think this is more or less within the range. You know, it's around 23% of our electrical usage that can be really put down to these vampire energy consuming devices, which means actually a quite huge national cost to the government, around $2.2 billion euros, pounds.
Are there some devices or electrical equipment that are better to turn off than others because they drain a particularly large amount of power?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the question of how much are you willing to give up the handy part of modern technology. You know, things such as built-in clocks, remote control, quick start features of your devices. Some of the devices, mostly around your TV consoles and around your new hybrid working from home setup, are the ones that charge and consume the most amount of power. So whether it is for your music station, your subwoofer, or whether it is once you set up 2 screens and a laptop at your home desk station, and if you really are going to unplug those every time you finished working. Those are some of the most biggest amounts of energy draining devices that are at the top of the list, so to speak.
I'd been told that turning things back on can actually sometimes use more power than leaving them on standby. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
I mean, I think it depends on the device, and it also depends on, you know, how long it takes for you to really get the system up and running again. So, for example, if you would think about, you know, turning off your Wi-Fi system, turning off your whole TV console system, and it takes quite a lot of time to reboot the whole system. It could take more energy consumption to reboot it, but mostly, first and foremost, it's also a matter and a question about whether one is patient enough to wait for the system to reboot. And that can take a different amount of time depending on the system that you have at home.
Exactly. It's changing consumer culture, isn't it? Now, I know a phrase that crops up a lot in your work, and I've heard about it as well, is circular economy. And I just wondered if you could explain to me what that means in this context.
I think that's a very, very good question and a very important point, because all of these considerations around vampire energy consuming devices, this is just the beginning of a big, big path and a big, big transformation that we have to take in the way we consume things, we live and we run our whole households. And moving towards a circular economy is really a new way of thinking about it. And a circular economy is a way of thinking about how we consume away from take, make, and throw away things, and rather moving to a system where we eliminate waste and use resources as frequently as and as resource efficiently as possible. Because the most important thing, and I think when you take a step back and try to think about how can we best tackle our current cost of living crisis while having an environmentally friendly lifestyle, we really have to think about it at the end that we only have 30 months left to get greenhouse gas emissions falling. That's what the IPCC report has told us. Beyond 30 months from now, we have missed our chance of limiting global warming to 1.5 degree heating. So this is really the epicenter of all of it. And we have to start thinking about a whole new way of living and running our households, ultimately, if we want to achieve that goal.
A cheeky final question, if I may. Do you practice what you preach, or are there times when you do leave some things on standby, perhaps charging your phone overnight, for example?
It's very funny that you mentioned it. Yesterday, I had the same discussion with my husband because, you know, the realities is how much are we personally willing to take off the convenience of, you know, keeping your technology on at night. You know, we were thinking about, oh, do I have to go now downstairs and unplug the washing machine? And it's so much effort to move that washing machine. So we didn't do it, unfortunately. But I think this is one of those examples of, the extreme discipline it will take for us, really, if we wanted to implement these changes. And ultimately, may it not be just much more effective if we change the way we think about running the household as a whole.
Dr. Tara Shirvani, thank you for your honesty and all your thoughts and insights. It's been really good to talk to you. Thank